Hello everyone. Okay, in the last class we did basically some reading, some listening, some grammar, and a little bit on pronunciation. So the reading part, we in some groups we started it in class, but we didn't finish. We didn't have time. Remember that we did this pre-reading activity where I wanted to know about your personal opinion or your personal situation answering these questions. The first one is a general one. Do you think you're addicted to your phone? And then these two other questions. How many times an hour do you look at it? And what for? We used Mentimeter for that. And the results were the following. So these were the results to the question, do you think you're addicted to your phone? How many times an hour do you look at it? So if you see, the majority of us answered between 1 and 10 times, which sounds quite correct. Although some of us, there were some people who answered more than 20. Then there was this question, do we have a problem? Okay. Then to the second question, what do you look at your phone for? The two main activities, the two most important activities, were to check on social networks and to talk to friends. So basically the conclusion is that it's we use it more for fun or for the social part of it rather than for the for work, which could be check emails or look for information. Right. Then we did this reading, which is about digital detox. We discussed the meaning of this phrase, digital detox, and we read the text, and then after that we answered these questions. So if you haven't read the text, I suggest you do it now. Of course, you can use your book, or you can use the screen as you watch this video and pause to read. So basically this text was about this idea of stacking phones when friends are in a bar or in a social gathering, a restaurant or whatever. And the questions here ask you if you thought it was a good idea. Okay? And if you ever do it with your friends. It also asks you about the meaning of unplug, which this part of the vocabulary we had learned in class the previous day. Remember that plug is to connect a plug to a socket, right? So to unplug has this figurative meaning of disconnect from your phone. All right, then the idea of detox, which would be disconnecting in order to purify oneself, you can say, or to be healthier mentally. About this detox, we listen to this recording here, okay, which is on a person, on an Australian journalist, Anne McGee, who went on a 3-day digital detox course run by the organization Time to Log Off. First of all, what we did was listen and say if that is positive or negative. The 5 statements that she mentions.
Nine point 12. 1. Suddenly I felt cut off and panicky. 2. We had lots of conversations with real-life humans. 3. I slept really well for the first time in months. 4. I felt really disconnected and lonely. 5. I really noticed the beauty of the countryside.
Okay, so you can go back in the recording if you need a second listening, but basically this would be her answers, right? Number one is negative. I'm not going to give further information because we're going to do exercise B, so we continue working with this recording. So number one is negative, number two positive, three positive, four negative, and five positive. You check that with your answers, right? And then we continue listening. Now we're going to listen to her talking about it on a radio program. So actually these statements were taken from this interview on a radio program. And now you have to say if on the whole, this means in general, on the whole, did she feel it was a positive or a negative experience? That is your only task now, to say if it was a positive or a negative experience. So we're going to listen now to the complete interview on the radio.
9.13.
Technology addiction is real, and it's creating mental health problems all over the world. According to a recent survey, 1 in 3 UK adults is so addicted to their phone that they regularly check it in the middle of the night. So it's no surprise that the idea of a digital detox is growing in popularity. But what is it actually like to go on one? Time to Log Off is an organisation which runs 3-day digital detoxes in an old country house in Dorset in the southwest of England. People who go on them are not allowed to use digital devices at all for 3 days. Journalist Anna McGee felt she was addicted to her smartphone. So when she read about the detoxes, she decided to go on one.
When I arrived, the first thing I discovered was that there was no mobile phone coverage, so I couldn't cheat even if I wanted to. Suddenly I felt cut off and panicky. What if something happened to my husband? What if something terrible happened in the world? There were 8 other people on the detox with me. At 6 p.m, we met in the living room and handed in our devices, our phones or tablets or whatever. People looked scared. I was worried there were going to be lots of lectures on psychology, things like that, but no. Instead, there was yoga and walks through the countryside where we picked fruit and had lots of conversations with real-life humans. The first night I slept really well for the first time in months. But it wasn't always easy. The second evening without my phone, I felt really disconnected and lonely. At yoga that night, I burst into tears and I felt awful not being able to call a friend. But by the third and final day, I'd changed. When we went on our walk, I really noticed the beauty of the countryside, and I was able to sit still on the sofa reading a book for nearly half an hour without losing concentration. I started colouring in pictures in books. I was even eating more slowly, in a more relaxed way. At lunchtime the next day, we got our devices back and said goodbye. When I finally managed to get coverage, I hungrily checked my phone for messages, likes, comments, news, but nothing had really happened. I managed the whole 2-hour train journey back without checking my phone again, just noticing the countryside instead. It's now 3 weeks since I went on the detox, and though I can't quite believe it, I've managed to control my use of technology. I have 1 full day unplugged each week, on Saturdays, and I feel incredibly rested on Sundays as a result. I don't do email after 8 p.m, and that really helps me to sleep. I know they're tiny steps, but I feel that I've changed. When I'm chatting to friends, I feel that I'm much more present. I'm really focusing on them and not getting distracted by my phone. And I find that when I have a break, instead of wanting to scroll through Twitter or check WhatsApp, what I really want is real-life conversation.
Alright, so remember that here you only had to say if her experience on the whole was positive or negative. And so what do you think? Alright. Oops, sorry. This is not what I wanted to show you. Okay, well, I can tell you the experience obviously on the whole is positive, right? And the second task was to say whether these sentences were true or false. Okay, here you have some statements about the interview, things that are mentioned in the interview, and you had to say whether they are true or false. So go back to the recording, listen again, and answer accordingly. If you think it's false, try to think why it is false and make the sentence correct. Okay, so go back to the recording, play it again, and do the true-false exercise. I will be here when you come back. So you're back now? Perfect. Let's see. Let's have a look at the answers. First of all, this would be the answers to the questions. And now the reasons for these answers. Okay, I can show the two screens, but she says 1 in 3. She doesn't say a quarter in this. I'm going to pause. I'm going to try to show the two screens. Okay, much better. Like this, I can show you the two screens. Okay, so number one, it said that a quarter of UK adults check their phones in the middle of the night, and that was false because she said 1 in 3. So we have to pay attention to these little changes in meaning, because this happens in exams too. At the end of a course, you have the official B1 exam, and this type of misleading questions can appear. Right, then the second question was true, also the third. The fourth said the second day of the detox was easier than the first, and that's false. The second evening she felt very disconnected and lonely and burst into tears during yoga. Then the fifth was true, the sixth was false. On her train journey home she spent the time checking her phone. That's false, because she says that she didn't check her phone on the train, which was 2 hours. The journey was 2 hours, and she spent all the time looking at through the window, looking at the landscape. And finally, number 7, since the detox, her weekends and evenings are technology free. This is false because it's partially true, but what she actually says is that she's technology free on Saturdays and doesn't do emails after 8 p.m. So the statement here is not completely true. That's why it's false. Pay attention to this type of details as well. Okay, so after this we had a little discussion on this, and we discussed these 3 questions, and then we moved on to the next activity. So grammar, the topic was quantifiers in this unit, and we had a previous exercise where we had to think of the words that are missing here and discuss it with a partner, and then we checked with the recording with 9.14. So you can stop the video and think what are the missing words here. Okay, and now we'll see. Okay, let's see what these words are. We'll check it with this recording.
9.14. 1.
I used to have a lot of different gadgets, but now I use my phone for almost everything.
2.
I'd like to have a better computer, but I don't have enough money to buy one right now.
3.
I spend too much time online. I think I need a digital detox.
4,
I have a lot of friends on Facebook, but only a few of them are close friends.
5,
I never watch TV or films on my phone because the screen isn't big enough.
6,
I like Apple products, but I can't afford them. I think they're too expensive.
Well, here the E is missing because the box is too small, but you can see here expensive. Okay, well, we did this pre-exercise to activate a little our knowledge on quantifiers. This is not new, that's why we could do this. And then we went to the grammar section for the complete explanation for B1. Obviously, I'm not going to read all this because you can read it yourselves. And so we did some explanation, but basically if you read this, it will be the same that if I explain it to you right now. So please read it, and then we'll do the exercises that follow. Notice that what we see in this explanation is divided into different categories, right? So, for example, large quantities, how to refer to large quantities. Here you have the words you use for that. Small quantities, how do you refer to small quantities? You use these words, and the explanation. Here we're talking about quantifiers to refer to when you refer to more or less than what you need. Okay, we use these words. And quantifiers to refer to zero, to nothing. So read it. If you have any question, please ask in class, or you can also use the forum to ask questions. But I don't think it's necessary that I explain this here. So after that we did the exercises. This is the first one where you have to circle the correct word. In this case it's too many. My husband has too many gadgets. Gadgets are countable, so you can count them. You use many for that. But in some sentences, both are possible. If that was the case, what you had to do is just tick the box here. So you can stop the video now, and I'll show you the solutions in a couple of seconds. Okay, so you can see here both are possible. There's enough room, there's plenty of room for a desk. Okay, my brother has downloaded a lot of or lots of apps onto his new phone. Okay, you can stop the video now for correction. And then we did the other exercise. Here it was a correction exercise. What we had to do was focus on the highlighted phrases, right? These are the highlighted phrases, and say whether they are right or wrong. So you had to write tick or cross the box. Okay, so you can stop the video now, do the exercise, and now I show you the answers. You can stop for correction to check that you have the same. So if you have any questions, please ask me in class. You know that these online classes, this is the maximum I can do. I don't know how to address this issue in any other way. So that's why we have the class. So we have a 50% of the time where we can do this type of things, like asking about things that we don't understand and doing the speaking and so on. Okay, so then we go back to the book, and to finish we did some pronunciation of these these spellings, O-U-G-H and A-U-G-H, which are quite present in many words. And here we have the pronunciation tip that says be careful with the letters O-U-G-H and A-U-G-H. There are several different pronunciations. Try to remember how to pronounce the most common words which have this combination of letters. For example, although and daughter. Okay, so there are many words that have this spelling, so we have to learn it by heart, but it's true that most of the time you will see that it is pronounced in a specific way. So here you have a list of words that you have to classify, and according to the way this spelling is pronounced. So I'm going to give you some time to do it. Then I'm going to show you how to complete the chart. So you had the sound O like in horse, then the words that pronounce this spelling with O are bought, brought, caught, daughter, thought. Then it can also be pronounced like in up, like in enough or tough. O like in phone, for example, although. Like in car, for example, laugh. Like in boot, for example, through. And clock like in cough. So you see different pronunciations, you have to pay attention to that, but also the most common pronunciation is O. But there are important words like enough or through and although that we need to know that they are pronounced in a different way. Alright, so if you want further practice, you can listen to the sentences and practice their pronunciation. So I'm going to play this.
9.20. 1.
I bought a new iPhone, although I thought it was very expensive.
2.
My daughter's caught a bad cold.
3. We've been through some tough times. 4.
I didn't laugh. It was a cough.
5.
You haven't brought enough wine.
So if you want to practice, you can stop and play the sentences and try to imitate the intonation and pronunciation, especially of these words. Okay, and then finally the homework for this session, you will find it here in the Group Desdoblat section. This is week 4, which is still under construction. I still have to post the video, but there you will find a link with the homework for this session, which is on grammar and quantifiers. We will correct this in the in-person class, so please have it ready for Monday or Wednesday according to your group. So this is all. I hope you have a nice weekend, and bye bye.